In a dark room, a restrained woman screams as she gives birth. After several minutes of suffering, a deformed child is born. After checking on the child, a mysterious man kills the mother. This all started 2 years ago, when a family traveling through the desert accidentally found a military area known as Sector 16. The next day, half the family was dead. During the following weeks, the American Army sent a team to search for the missing people. In the present, military leaders have ordered a team to install electronic monitoring in the area, but the reasons are confidential. To test the connections, technician Han has installed some dummy dolls in an old mine that could be used as a secret meeting room. Dr. Wilson keeps an eye on things from the control room, which has a heat sensor. Wilson tells Han that some connections aren't working before he notices something strange on the scanner. Before he can analyze it, the screen goes off. Han goes to check the power box and discovers the cables are fried, so he assumes the rats did it. Meanwhile, Dr. Foster is setting up his equipment on top of a hill. He tries to call Wilson on the radio, but he won't answer. Then he tries to contact Han, but he's lying dead in the mine with all his intestines out. When Foster turns around, he's shocked to see a mutated man eating a snake. Foster tries to communicate, but the mutant is more amused by his bag zipper. Suddenly the man starts growling a weird word. It takes Foster a few seconds to realize he's saying run away, and by then it's too late. Someone attacks him from behind and kills him. Colonel Redding hears the screaming, so he goes looking for Foster while calling his name. Suddenly a mutant appears behind him and stabs him with a rod before throwing him down the hill. Meanwhile, a group of soldiers is under heavy fire in a dangerous war zone. Spitter accidentally loses his helmet and goes back for it, ignoring his teammates' warnings. Mine goes off near him and sends him flying. An enemy starts insulting them and their mother, so Crank comes out of hiding to chase after him. His teammates think he's crazy, but they have no choice but to follow him. They throw some grenades through a door and the explosion knocks them down. A baby doll falls next to them and a mother appears crying for her child. Napoleon tries to apologize to her, only for the woman to reveal a bunch of grenades under her clothes. She says kaboom to represent the explosion, revealing this is just a training exercise and they aren't in a real war. Afterward, Sergeant Jeffrey scolds the whole team for acting like morons. He also announces they'll be traveling to Sector 16 to deliver some goods for the scientists working there. It's a top secret area, so they mustn't talk to anyone or wander off. When they reach Sector 16, the team remembers that the Army used to test nuclear weapons there and they worry it may be radioactive land. However, Jeffrey says their higher-ups assured him it wasn't. During the trip, the cadets keep teasing each other and it escalates into an argument. Crank gets angry and almost throws someone off the truck, so the others have to call him down. When they finally reach the scientist camp, they don't find a single person. They try the radios, but there's no answer. They don't notice someone watching from behind the rocks. Crank opens the door to the mine and is startled by a bunch of bats flying out. They find a satellite phone, however it's been destroyed. Suddenly a truck radio receives a transmission from a man asking for help. He says he's up the hill, but before he can add more details, the call ends. At that moment the team sees a signal mirror on the hill and Jeffrey announces that they're going on a rescue mission. Napoleon thinks it's a bad idea to leave without contacting the base first, so Jeffrey punishes him by making him guard the bathroom on one leg. On their way out, Jeffrey notices Amber flirting and makes her stay too, telling her to keep trying the radio. Amber follows orders and is surprised to hear a hello on the other end, but nothing else. As the group goes up the hill, Mickey accidentally steps on a hidden hole and falls. The others rush to rescue him and get him out just in time. Throwing a rock into the hole tells them it must be around 100 miles deep or 100 years old. Mickey's ankle is injured, so Jeffrey sends him back to camp. Meanwhile, Napoleon enters the bathroom to relieve himself. Suddenly he hears a weird sound and a hand appears in the toilet to grab his leg. Napoleon screams and immediately comes out in panic. Amber is skeptical of his story and takes a closer look, only for a whole arm to appear in the excrement. Both cadets scream and close the door as a man climbs out of the toilet, asking for help. The soldiers take him out and discover it's Wilson, who has strange cuts on his trembling body. Wilson whispers they're here before he dies. Napoleon realizes someone cut him, so he would die slowly from an infection. After washing up, the duo tries to contact Jeffrey, but the radio is still useless. At that moment they see some smoke and are shocked to discover someone has set their truck on fire. Amber notices her rifle is missing and decides to go looking for her team to warn them, but Napoleon chooses to stay. After taking just a few steps, Amber hears a noise and suddenly a zombie jumps on her from behind. She tries to defend herself, but the mutant is much stronger and throws her down. Then Amber hits him with a rock, only for the mutant to attack back with a blade. As Amber dodges the blows, a bullet hits the mutant. It comes from Mickey hiding in the rocks. The mutant escapes by jumping into one of the mine holes. From a different hole, a hand reaches out and grabs Mickey's ankle, making him fall. Amber tries grabbing his arms, but the mysterious hand is pulling too hard. She grabs her gun, however she can't shoot because Mickey's body is covering the entire hole. Soon Napoleon arrives and tries to grab Mickey too, but it's too late. Mickey's body starts bleeding when the rocks break his leg, bending it until his body is squeezed enough to go through the hole and disappear. On the hills, Delmer is chosen to climb a high rock formation to continue the search. He almost slips off but thankfully makes it to the top. Meanwhile, Missy separates from the group to look at a message from her son on her phone. Suddenly she hears a noise and is startled by someone touching her shoulder, but it's just her teammate announcing they're moving. After walking for a while, they find a shoe on top of a rock. Nearby, they discover Foster's body with his wallet stuck inside his head injury. Getting worried about an enemy, Spitter tries to contact the camp, but their friends won't answer. After a few tries they hear Redding, who only says a sentence before the call ends again. Missy points out that's not the same voice they heard in the previous call. The team keeps moving, hearing strange noises among the rocks. Suddenly a mutant tries attacking Spitter, hitting his backpack instead. Spitter responds by opening fire, so the mutant runs to the top of the hill and throws a rock at him. Panicking, Spitter continues to shoot without thinking and accidentally hits Jeffrey multiple times while the mutant escapes. The team tries to help him but Jeffrey still dies. When Amber and Napoleon arrive, they have to tell them about Mickey too. After wrapping Jeffrey's body in a blanket to carry him, the team starts making their way back. Delmer sees someone moving on top of the rocks but ignores it to avoid trouble. When it's time to climb down, Spitter goes first while carrying the body. At first it goes well, but suddenly the rope breaks and Spitter falls to his death. Crank blames Napoleon for making a bad knot, however Delmer notices that the rope was cut. They also discover that all their spare ropes are gone. The team starts looking for a path that can take them down safely, but they only find dead ends. When they hear another noise, they follow it until they find Redding, who is barely alive. They try to take care of his wounds but Redding snaps at them and laughs. Then they hear screaming in the distance and everyone gets ready to shoot. When they turn around, they find Redding standing with a gun in his hand. He explains that there are humans living in the mines who have mutated because of the radioactive activity that happened during the old experiments. These mutants kill all men but keep women for breeding. The team asks how to leave and Redding answers by self-deleting. Minutes later, Missy sits with Amber and shows her a video of her son. A mutant appears behind them and Missy yells now because this is a trap. The guys open fire and quickly shoot the mutant to death. Afterward, Missy moves behind a rock to relieve herself, not noticing the mutant behind her because his rock-like skin allows him to camouflage. He grabs her from behind and her screaming gets the others' attention. They run down a path and see the mutant taking her into the mines. When the team enters the mine, Stump thinks this is a bad idea, so he leaves the cave and promises to come back with help. The group continues to search the mine, unaware of someone watching from the shadows. They find a dead end and Missy's phone on the ground. Using their flashlights, they realize some metal sheets are covering a tunnel, so Delmer slides down and kicks the rocks blocking it to reach the lower level. Seeing it's safe, the rest of the team slides down too. Amber freaks out when a spider appears on her arm but she manages to make it through. Meanwhile, Stump is going down the hill when he hears someone nearby. Rocks start falling around him as he continues to hear the creepy noises. After dodging them, a nervous Stump decides to climb down without a rope. It's very dangerous, so he has to move slowly. Midway, he finds a tunnel in the wall and calls for his friends, but nobody answers. When he tries to leave, a mutant appears in the tunnel and cuts his hand to make him fall to his death. In the mine, the team follows a breeze that takes them to a hole in the wall. They look out and see their dead friends, which means this is where the mutant cut the rope. The next tunnel is filled with water, so they can't see the ground well. Amber decides to save a bullet in her pocket in case she needs to self-delete in an emergency. She accidentally steps into a pit and when Napoleon tries to grab her, he falls to the next level too. The water drains through the pit and Crank and Delmer look down to confirm his friends are alright. They have no choice but to keep moving in two groups. The mutant holding Missy is down there, but he hides before they can see him. Delmer and Crank find their path blocked by another hole. Crank decides to make a big jump but he barely manages to hold on to the other side. As he starts to slip, Delmer also jumps and actually makes it. Then he brings Crank up. On this side of the hole there's a beam that they use to go down safely. In a room full of dusty objects, the mutant drops Missy and says he wants Mama Pretty. Missy spits on his face and the furious mutant calls her a slur before throwing her on the bed. She tries to defend herself but he strikes her down. He tastes her blood and calls it sweet before inserting his tongue into her mouth. Missy bites a piece of tongue off and kicks the mutant in the groin, then she tries to run away. Unfortunately, a big mutant appears at the door and knocks her down. The first creature apologizes and calls him Papa before the new mutant hits him too, so he runs away. Next, the big mutant announces he wants a baby and tries to take advantage of Missy. Hearing the screaming, Delmer and Crank call Missy's name while trying to find the right path. The big mutant roars and closes the door before going back to Missy to violently abuse her. Meanwhile, Napoleon and Amber find Stump's headband and his hand suddenly falls near them. A mutant is sneaking around and Napoleon opens fire, but he doesn't land a single shot and runs out of bullets. Then the mutant tries to attack, so Amber grabs his head to burst one of his eyes. He tries to choke her in return, however Napoleon uses a rock to smash the mutant's head until he's dead. At that moment a blind creature appears in the tunnel so the duo slowly moves back to try to escape. As the mutant tries to follow their smell, Amber and Napoleon fall through a hatch. To their surprise, a friendly mutant closes it and tells them they're safe. Soon Crank and Delmer reach the same tunnel and their voices cause the blind mutant to open fire. Delmer gets wounded, but Crank acts fast and fires back until he brings the blind mutant down, although now both soldiers are out of ammo. Napoleon opens the hatch and brings his friends in. The mutant asks them to follow him, and after crossing a hidden passage, the group reaches a room full of bodies and the belongings of the victims. Body parts are hanging on tables and hooks or inside a fridge and a meat grinder. Amber screams when she finds Mickey's body. At that moment, Delmer collapses and dies in his friend's arms. The group keeps moving while dragging Delmar's body. The mutant guides them to the entrance, but sadly the door is stuck. Amber wants to go back for Missy, but Crank thinks she's already dead. Then he sees dynamite behind a wooden door and starts ripping off the planks. The mutant says they shouldn't touch anything and runs away. When Amber decides to search for Missy anyway, Napoleon follows her. Eventually Crank enters the other room and grabs a dynamite box. However, when he brings it out, he accidentally pulls a wire that detonates the explosives. The explosion is big enough to bring down debris on Napoleon and Amber, who come back to check on his friend and find him dead. At the same time, the big mutant is tying Missy to the bed and her screams echo in the mines. Following the noise, Napoleon and Amber move through a new tunnel opened by a blast and find the army's meeting room. When Napoleon approaches the table, a mutant dressed as a dummy attacks him by surprise. After a few kicks, he jumps on Amber, so Napoleon slashes him twice with his knife. Next, Amber stabs him with her gun until he's dead. The duo keeps moving, and through some wooden planks, they see the big mutant with Missy. Amber puts Missy's phone in another room and makes it play a video, so the mutant goes out to investigate. The soldiers rush in and untie Missy, but before they can leave, the mutant comes back by bursting through the wood. He brings Napoleon down before grabbing Missy to start smashing her on the ground. Amber remembers her extra bullet and shoots the mutant in the head, but it only takes off a little bit of brain. The mutant throws Napoleon off again and captures Amber to choke her. Napoleon grabs a metal rod and stabs him to hold him while Amber inserts her fingers into the brain wound, squashing until he collapses. Afterward, a furious Missy keeps kicking the body and he awakens to grab her ankle, making her fall. He reaches for a knife, but Napoleon finds an axe and stops him before helping Amber free their friend. Missy gets a hammer and hits the mutant on the groin a few times, followed by Napoleon inserting his gun in the mutant's mouth, finally killing him. Now the trio can finally leave. The disappearance of the soldiers is never explained to their families and they're officially listed as absent without leave. Sector 16 is still a secret and someone is watching it on a radar. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.